approaching the Rocky Mountains on my way to Kimberley from Calgary, Alberta. Mid-October 2021. Beautiful crystal clear blue sky. Light skiff of snow last night. Possibly a little bit in the pass as I go through. Such a beautiful image. I'll share it. A little bit more inside the mountains. This is approaching Banff. I'm 11k east of Banff right now. Now I'm pretty much at Banff. It's the Banff exit. This is the number 1 highway. That's what it's called, Canada. And if you go down into Banff, it's even more beautiful. Now I have passed Banff and the exit from Mount Norquay. I'm only about 3, 4, 5k past the Banff exits. And if you continue in this direction, you get to Johnson Canyon, the Bow Valley Parkway. Eventually you get up to Lake Louise, and at Lake Louise there's an exit for the Icefields Parkway, which will take you up to Jasper. But I'm heading for Castle Mountain, because at Castle Mountain there's an exit that takes you down to Radium Hotsprings, and that's the highway I'm taking. That's Highway 93. But we're still on Highway number 1 heading west. Virtually the entire highway through the Rockies is national and provincial parks, which is nice because you don't have to deal with billboards or advertising or exits or buildings, or it's just beautiful scenery. The stretch is quite nice. Up ahead you can see Castle Mountain on your left, kind of. Then that snowy valley up there, that's a glacial valley carved out millions of years ago. The U-shape gives it away. And I like this stretch here because you actually come down to the level of the Bow River, and we're following up the Bow Valley right now. And the Bow River is the water supply that supplies Calgary. There's the bow down there. Inside the mountains. This is approaching Banff. I'm 11k east of Banff right now. Now I'm pretty much at Banff. It's the Banff exit. This is the number 1 highway. Canada. And if you go down into Banff, it's even more beautiful. Now I have passed Banff and the exit from Mount Norquay. I'm only about 3, 4, 5k past the Banff exits. And if you continue in this direction, you get to Johnson Canyon, the Bow Valley Parkway. Eventually you get up to Lake Louise, and at Lake Louise there's an exit for the Icefields Parkway, which will take you up to Jasper. But I'm heading for Castle Mountain, because at Castle Mountain there's an exit that takes you down to Radium Hotsprings, and that's the highway I'm taking. That's Highway 93. But we're still on Highway number 1 heading west. Virtually the entire highway through the Rockies is national and provincial parks, which is nice because you don't have to deal with billboards or advertising or exits or buildings, or it's just beautiful scenery. Up ahead you can see Castle Mountain on your left, kind of. Then that snowy valley up there, that's a glacial valley carved out millions of years ago. The U shape gives it away. And I like this stretch here because you actually come down to the level of the Bow River, and we're following up the Bow Valley right now. And the Bow River is the water supply that supplies Calgary. There's the Bow down there. Distance. And you can see why it's called Castle Mountain. Coming up on my exit pretty quickly. Getting real close to the mountain. Just as I start to flank the mountain is where the Highway 93 exit is. There's the river down there again. In the pass heading down towards Radium. This mountain here looks like a pyramid. I'm actually descending. You reach a high point just as you come off of the number 1 highway, and then descend down to a river. I can't remember the name of the river. Eventually though we'll be flanking the Kootenay River when we get down past Radium. The speed limit on all these highways through the parks is 90 kilometers an hour. Currently speeding as I coast down the hill. On the left hand side here, looking up that way, there's actually an ice field up there. And just down around this corner is a parking lot where you can exit and hike up to the ice fields. I can't remember the name of the ice fields, but the sign's coming up, so. There we go, Stanley Glacier. River Valley begins here in Marble Canyon. This is a nice spot. I haven't hiked the trail, but I went in a little ways. They're really well-maintained trails. Parking area. Bathroom facilities. But just on the right here, as we come around this corner, you'll see the creek. And then we continue to descend a little bit. The river will flank us on the right for quite some distance. Here we have the river following us on the right. picture. As you head through this pass, the valley widens out quite a bit. And you cross over the river eventually. So now I'm on the west side of the river instead of the east. See the ice crystals on the road. Pretty well wiped out most of the forest. You can see it on the right hand side here too. But it bounces back fast. Those are pretty with the fresh snow on them. Still about 35 minutes out of Radium. This is a stretch of the route through the pass that I call King's Row. I don't think it actually has a name, but I've named it as such because they've cut the trees well back from the road. It reminds me of something from Arthurian times where the carriage road has been well cut back to expose brigands and robbers. And again, the valley is quite wide here. It's widened quite a bit actually. A little bit beyond this, we'll start to climb. And we will climb for a good 10 minutes. And then at the apex of that climb, there's a little pullover area, a viewpoint, and then it descends from there. Approaching the apex of the climb, and the lookout or the viewpoint looks down into that valley, which you can't see from this lane. Parking area off to the left and off to the right. Crosswalk here for pedestrians. From this point on, it's downhill to Radium, and quite a steep decline. For most of it, it's kind of a cool view through here, so I figured I'd record it. We are 2 kilometers out of Radium. I'm hauling a heavy trailer, so easy 3/4 ton truck. Constructing new park gates here. So that's Radium Hotsprings we just passed. You can pay your admission and go in there and swim. To the smell of sulfur. Hello, pothole. This is the final cut as you come out of the mountains. Here's a little tourist village as you come into Radium. Motels. Motels, motels, and more motels. Down below here is a large lake. There's a highway here that connects to Golden, heads north to Golden. It's that way. 95 north. Drive from Radium to Kimberley. Takes you through Invermere, Windermere, Fairmont, the Canal Flats, and then I think the next point is Wausau. Then just beyond Wausau, you head up towards Kimberley. The countryside in southern BC is the same almost no matter where you go, and this is kind of how it looks. Brown with interspersed green, sagebrush, conifers, a lot of ponderosa pine. Most highways follow river valleys. Much easier to go between mountains than over them. And where you do see green fields, it's usually because they're irrigated using the water from the rivers or water from wells, although with the climate change that's been happening, less and less wells and more large water bodies. Over time, you're going to see a lot of restrictions on water. There is a large lake down here. You can see off to the right. And I probably won't show you any more until we get very close to Kimberley. Because, yeah, it's just more of the same. Remember what lake that is? That mountain range over there, I think, is called the Selkirk Mountains. One thing you can count on in the mountains, there's gotta be lakes. Just past Canal Flats, about 15 minutes back. It was at the tail end of that lake that I showed you. Now we're coming up on the exit for Premier Lake. If you're ever out this way, I recommend going up. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous up there. It's not a long drive either. I think it's about 15 minutes. Be prepared to drive on some gravel roads though. The other reason I started this video back up again is I forgot there's actually another small community that we're coming up on just down around the corner that occurs after Canal Flats and before Wausau. And I can't for the life of me remember the name of the place, but I'll video it as we go past. Maybe there's a sign, but yeah, there's the exit for Premier Lake. We're heading approximately due south here, so off to the west there is a large pulp and paper mill. You can occasionally see the steam and smoke coming off their stack. I would imagine that's the major industry in this area. But we come down into a valley, and off in the distance you can see a river. That's the Kootenay River. And we still have the Selkirk Mountains on our left. And here's the little community. I think the salmon run is on, judging by the number of fishermen here. It's the Kootenay salmon run. Pretty much clear sailing to Wausau. Another 5 minutes. And then from Wausau, another 15 to Kimberley. So this is the rest area right near Wausau. It's the Kimberley, or the Kootenay River off to the left. Sign we just passed. Said Kimberley up ahead. Up on the left here, there's an intersection coming up pretty quick. Bridge takes you across the river, and it actually takes you into Wausau. I call this Wausau because it's about as close as you can get when you're on this highway. We're going to keep going due south instead of heading east towards Wausau. The road towards Wausau eventually jogs south, and it will take you down to Cranbrook. We'll also take you over to Fernie and the Crow's Nest Pass. But there's the exit there. Bridge. And up to us. So we're taking 95A south to get to Kimberley. My ultimate destination is actually an area called Wycliffe, which is a little bit south and east of Kimberley. That's Kimberley coming up in the distance. The mountain you see dead ahead is actually the ski slope. And if you look closely, you can see the ski runs on it. Maybe if you enlarge this. It looks like there might even be snow at the top right now. So well, you never know. Weather in the fall. So central BC is really unpredictable, so it could warm up and it could melt, or it could stay. Cherry Creek Falls is worth checking out if you're down this way. It's a short jaunt down that road. Nice large parking area. It's a little bit rough part way in, about a quarter mile of gravel. Needs some work, but it's really pretty. And actually this area around Kimberley is quite pretty too. It compared to most areas in southern BC, it greens up quite nicely. Not sure what it is about this area, but maybe a little bit more rainfall. Beautiful here in the winter time when everything's covered in snow. Here we are a little bit closer to town. Cute little motel. Part of Kimberley's built up on a hill. The rest of it's down in the valley. The commercial district's down in the valley. Residential, much of it's up on the hill, except for the lower income, which is down below. It's a mining town. Many of the houses here were built by the mining company many years ago. Nickel mine. Mine's closed now. It's kind of semi-active. There's something going on there. I'm not sure what. Creek that ran down from the valley that the mine was on became polluted from the mining activity. Can't remember what kind of heavy metal was in there, but something not too good for humans. They ultimately ended up doing a bunch of remediation on it and cleaning it up. The mining company did. So it's I wouldn't drink the water, but it's no longer as toxic. Then you come up around this corner under this pedestrian bridge. Here we are. Welcome to Kimberley. It's now I'd say 3/4 tourist town. And the rest, I guess, the rest of the industry in the area would be logging, like forestry, and whatever residual mining still going on in the area.